Hello everyone, hello learners. I welcome you all back to my YouTube channel Nitik Panthan, which is a platform to understand deeper the criminal law. As I promised, I have come up with the next subject BNSS Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023. As I have uploaded the first video on Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita BNS, I just hope that you all must have watched it, and also I go with the presumption that you all must have made its notes whatsoever was taught in the first lecture of BNS. I just go with the presumption that you all must be noting it down in your register, and I would suggest that make one register of each subject of BNS, BNHS, and BSA. Now, today, as we are starting the first lecture, it is going to be the first lecture of Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023. One more thing I want to make it clear that since it is going to be, as I discussed you in the first lecture of BNS, that the entire series is going to be unpaid. It is going to be, you all will not be charged of a single penny. So do not think that I shall be cutting any corner. I will be cutting any corner means I will be skipping some provisions since it is free. No, I am going to delve, I'm going to dive deeper into each and every provision. So be tension free. Do not think of all these things. I'm going to teach each and every provision without thinking the nature of course I'm providing. Now, so let us start the first lecture of BNSS 2023. As we all know that the whole story revolves around a single word. That word is not mere a word. That word is the most cherished things by human beings. It is the most demanded thing by human beings, by we human beings. That thing is called rights. That thing is called uh, rights. That thing is called rights. Now, this the concept of rights. If I happen to go to the Stone Age, as we discussed in the first lecture of BNS, though I'm going to repeat the same because by and large, majority of its part is going to be relevant in this lecture also of the first lecture of BNSS. I'm going to repeat a few part of the BNS. When we go to our Stone Age, when we go to the period of Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, or even Neolithic age, there was hardly any concept of rights. Means there was no concept of rights. There was only one right, which was called might was right. If any powerful creature, any powerful human being, they could do anything what they wished because they were powerful. They had no accountability to anyone. उनको किसी को जवाबदेही नहीं होना रहता था, तो वे लोग कुछ भी कर सकते थे जो उनके मन में आता था. माइट मीन्स जो वे चाहे वो उन्होंने किया. That is called might is right. Now, but as the society grew, as the population increased, society grew, the society became more dynamic, it obviously gave rise in the conflicts. Conflicts arose, then we felt the need of someone or some entity which can protect us, which can guide us what should we do, what should we not do, or if we have to do anything, then in what particular way we have to do. So that was the thing, that was the time when we felt the need of relationship, that was quid pro quo. Quid pro quo, which means something for something. When the society grew, the population want the citizen, the subjects wanted this concept to come into existence. Now what does this concept mean? This quid pro quo means something for something. For an example, when the society grew, the population wanted, the subjects wanted someone or some entity, some instrument for that matter, to guide them, to let them know what their duties are. वे चाहते थे कि कोई ऐसा सोवरेन आए, सिंस आई टुक द नेम ऑफ सोवरेन, वे किसी एक ऐसे एंटिटी या किसी एक ऐसे पर्सन की तलाश में थे कि उनको प्रोटेक्ट कर सके, उनके लिए रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन बना सके। सोवरेन की खोज में लोग थे। सोवरेनिटी किस में वेस्ट की जाए, दैट वाज द अनदर इशू। So as we have also studied social contract theory and all, so more or less it is going to be prevalent here also indirectly. uh, so what citizens, what population, what people started doing is that they vest sovereignty in a single person, and they gave him the task, or you can say the opportunity, or the responsibility for that matter, to protect them. The sovereignty has to protect, the sovereignty had to protect their property and their body. These two are the main things what are cherished by the human being. Human beings want their property to be protected and their bodies to be protected. So these things to be protected by the sovereign. लोगों का कहना था कि मैं आपको ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दे रहा हूँ कि आप मेरी प्रॉपर्टी और बॉडी को प्रोटेक्ट करिए, and in the exchange of that I will follow your rules. एंड सेम थिंग वॉज द से ऑफ सोवरेन, ऑल्सो सोवरेन, वो जो सोवरेन थे उनका भी यही कहना था, सोवरेन का कॉन्सेप्ट का भी यही कहना था कि मेरे द्वारा बनाया गया रूल्स, मेरे द्वारा बनाया गया हर एक लॉज रेगुलेशन आप फॉलो करिए। आप फॉलो करते हैं तब उसके एक्सचेंज में आई विल प्रोटेक्ट योर बॉडी एंड प्रॉपर्टी। तो लाइक दिस सोसाइटी में जब ये कॉन्सेप्ट की एग्जिस्टेंस हुई तो सोसाइटी जो जंगल राज में थी पहले वो सिविलाइज सोसाइटी बनना स्टार्ट हो गई। तो जो कहते हैं कि वैदिक सिविलाइजेशन, बाइजेंटाइन सिविलाइजेशन और रोमन सिविलाइजेशन, तो इन सारे सिविलाइजेशन में कहीं ना कहीं एक ऐसा कोहेसिव ऑर्डर था। उस कोहेसिव ऑर्डर को हम सोशल ऑर्डर कहते हैं, वो सोशल ऑर्डर लाने वाला कोई नहीं बट ये सोवरेन ही था। जो कि ऑस्टिन ऑस्टिन के वर्ड में अगर कहा जाए तो ये सोवरेन ही एक ऐसा पर्सन था जो सोशल ऑर्डर लेके आया सोसाइटी में, सोसाइटी को एक बाइंड कर दिया, सोसाइटी को एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड वे में ले आया, सोवरेन के द्वारा लाया गया ये सब। नाउ एज आई सेड दैट सिंस वी आर स्टडिंग द क्रिमिनल लॉ, भारतीय भारतीय नागरिक सुरक्षा संहिता, एज आई सेड दैट the society grew, it became civilized, it had a shift from jungle raj to a civilized society. Now in this basically civilization, when I take the word civilization, नाउ बेसिकली होता क्या था कि पहले के सोसाइटी में जब इवन सोसाइटीज सिविलाइज्ड थी तो वहाँ पे कोई राइट्स नहीं थे, एज अ मीनिंग टू से कोई क्रिमिनल राइट्स नहीं थे, वहाँ पे सिर्फ सिविल राइट्स थे। एट द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द सोसाइटी सिविलाइजेशन में देयर वर ओनली वन राइट, दैट वाज सिविल राइट। That is why they are called civilized society, because they had the concept of civilized civil rights. Now, the reason why we call it civilization is that because at the starting they had only civil rights. They did not have any criminal rights. They did not have any criminal kind of concept. They have had only civil rights. Only civil rights existed earlier. तो होता क्या था पहले के ज़माने, मतलब जब ये सिविलाइज सोसाइटी के समय चीज़ें जब रॉन्ग होती थी तो रॉन्ग के बदले कंपनसेट किया जाता था, एक रिलीफ दी जाती थी, ना कि पनिश किया जाता था। अनलाइक टुडे, आज पनिशमेंट का भी कॉन्सेप्ट है और कंपनसेशन या रिलीफ का भी कॉन्सेप्ट है, दैट इज अ सेपरेट थिंग। बट अनलाइक टुडे, वैदिक सिविलाइजेशन, रोमन सिविलाइजेशन या सोसाइटी जब सिविलाइज थी तो जो पहली राइट स्टार्ट होती है वो स्टार्ट होती है सिविल राइट के फॉर्म में। तो एट द वेरी इंसेप्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी सिविल राइट्स की एग्जिस्टेंस थी। होता क्या था उस समय, अगर ए ने बी को हार्म किया तो बी वॉज पेड, बी वॉज गिवन रिलीफ इन द फॉर्म ऑफ कंपनसेशन। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दिस इज ए, दिस इज बी, इफ ए हार्म्ड बी Then B was given relief in the form of restitutio in integrum. Restitutio in integrum, विच मीन्स दैट बी को उस कंडीशन में ला करके वापस रख दिया जाता था जब उसका नुकसान नहीं हुआ था। बी को डैमेजेस दे करके, रिलीफ दे करके, ना को ए को पनिश करके। ये ऐसा कॉन्सेप्ट था ही नहीं कि ए ने रॉन्ग किया तो ए को पनिशमेंट मिले। रैदर किया जाता था, बी को कंपनसेट कर दिया जाता था रिगार्डलेस ऑफ द फैक्ट कि उसने कौन सा रॉन्ग किया है, ए ने कौन सी गलती किया। दिस वॉज नॉट द मैटर ऑफ कंसिडरेशन। बस किया ये जाता था कि बी को रिलीफ दिया जाता था, जो कि सिविल राइट का कॉन्सेप्ट है। रिलीफ देना, कंपनसेशन देना, कंपनसेट करना या डैमेजेस देना। इससे बी को उसकी प्री हार्म्ड स्टेट में ला करके बी को पुट कर दिया जाता था। ऐसे ही चलता गया। देन अ टाइम केम व्हेन पीपल स्टार्टेड यूजिंग देयर माइंड एंड दे स्टार्टेड रेशनलाइजिंग दैट कि अगर supposedly A commits, for an example, rape, and B commits uh, theft. Now, how far is it justiciable to give both of them the same punishment? ए को मान लेते हैं कि पनिशमेंट, ए को मान लेते हैं ये लाइबिलिटी दी जा रही कि नाउ आप विक्टिम को 5,000 रुपीज़ दोगे सिंस यू हैव कमिटेड रेप। बी को भी हम यही पनिशमेंट दे रहे हैं, यही लाइबिलिटी दे रहे हैं कि अब आपको 5,000 रुपीज़ कंपनसेट करना होगा टू द विक्टिम जिसके यहाँ आपने थेफ्ट कमिट किया है। तो हाउ रीजनेबल इट लुक्स लाइक, हाउ रीजनेबल इट साउंड्स लाइक, इट इज़ कम्प्लीटली अनरीजनेबल। तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता सोसाइटी में ये रियलाइज़ किया गया कि दोनों लोगों को सेम पनिशमेंट नहीं दे सकते, क्योंकि इनके द्वारा किया गया जो ऑफेंस है उसकी डिग्री ऑफ ऑफेंस में बहुत बड़ा अंतर है। वी स्टार्टेड फीलिंग कि ए शुड बी सब्जेक्ट टू सम पनिशमेंट। हाँ, अगर बी को, चलिए बी ने ऑफेंस बहुत लो डिग्री का किया है तो वी कैन आस्क हिम टू कंपनसेट द विक्टिम पार्टी। बट क्योंकि ए ने रेप कमिट किया, मान लेते हैं ए ने मर्डर कमिट किया, तो ए हैज़ टू अंडरगो द पनिशमेंट। तो यहाँ से कॉन्सेप्ट पनिशमेंट की अराइज होती है। यहाँ से आता है कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम। So that is why I say that criminal justice system did not exist from the very inception of the society. Yeah, civil right existed from the very inception of the society, unlike criminal law. Criminal law came into being nearly around 9th century BC, जब ये ऐसा रेशनैलिटी को लाया गया, रेशनल थॉट्स लाए गए कि दे बोथ कैन नॉट बी मेजर्ड ऑन द सेम बेंचमार्क, दे शुड बी गिवन डिफरेंट पनिशमेंट्स। ए जहाँ मर्डर कर रहा है उसको पनिश किया जाना चाहिए, बी अगर मान लेते हैं बैटरी या असॉल्ट कमिट कर रहा है तो उसको कंपनसेट या बहुत बहुत ही लो डिग्री या फिर पनिश ना करके भी काम चलाया जा सकता है। तो यहाँ से वी गॉट, now from here we got two kind of justice system. Now what is justice system? Let us focus on this phrase justice system। अगर मैं एग्जांपल लेता हूँ सिविल राइट्स का ही। सिविल राइट्स पिक्चर में तब आता था जब मेरा एक राइट था, उस राइट की इन्फ्रिंजमेंट हुई, उस इन्फ्रिंजमेंट ऑफ राइट की वजह से मेरे पास एक ऐसा कॉज आया कि मैं एक्शन ले सकूँ, विच इज़ ऑल्सो कॉल्ड कॉज ऑफ एक्शन। आई गॉट सम कॉज thereby which I could take some action, which is called cause of action. I want a wrong was committed, a right was, a civil right was infringed. I got right to take cause of action. I got cause of action. I go to court, put a plaint, ask a claim of relief. नो, अब मुझे यहाँ पे रिलीफ दिया जा रहा है। तो जब मेरा मेरे जो मेरी राइट्स थी, सिविल राइट्स, वो इन्फ्रिंज होती है, इन्फ्रिंजमेंट ऑफ राइट से लेकर के इन्फ्रिंजमेंट ऑफ राइट से लेकर के रिलीफ रिलीफ पाने तक, इसी को बोलते हैं जस्टिस सिस्टम। दिस इज कॉल्ड जस्टिस सिस्टम। द जर्नी फ्रॉम इन्फ्रिंजमेंट ऑफ राइट till the relief you get is called justice system, and this justice system got divided into two parts, which is called, I name it CJS, civil justice system, and this is criminal justice system. In civil justice system, uh, as we as we discussed that civil justice system पिक्चर में तब आती है, फिर ये तब स्टार्ट होता है जब हमारा एक रॉन्ग हमारी एक राइट्स को इन्फ्लुएंस किया जाता है, ऐसे राइट्स को जो सोसाइटी को इम्पैक्ट ना कर रही हो, वो बहुत बहुत नॉमिनल सा रॉन्ग है जो सिर्फ मुझे एज एन इंडिविजुअल को अफेक्ट कर रही है, ना कि पूरी सोसाइटी को अफेक्ट कर रही है। अगर यही यहीं पे अगर पूरी सोसाइटी को अफेक्ट कर रही होती तो यहाँ पे हमारी जो गवर्नमेंट है, हमारी जो सोवरेनिटी है, जो सोवरेन है हमारा, वो पिक्चर में आता, स्टेट पिक्चर में आता और एक्यूज को पनिश करता, क्योंकि उसके द्वारा किया गया एक ऐसा रॉन्ग जिससे सोसाइटी अफेक्ट हो रही है। तो ही इज़ नॉट गोइंग टू बी फॉरगिवन इजीली, he has to undergo some punishment। अनलाइक इन सिविल जस्टिस सिस्टम में अगर एक रॉन्ग कमिट होता है, एक इन्फ्रिंजमेंट ऑफ राइट होती है, तो एक इंडिविजुअल दूसरे इंडिविजुअल के अगेंस्ट ही रॉन्ग कमिट करता है, उसी की राइट इन्फ्रिंज होती है, ना कि पूरी सोसाइटी की। इसीलिए यहाँ पे हमने देखा होगा कि जो यहाँ पे वी स्टडी केस लॉज, इट इज़ प्लेंटिफ वर्सेस डिफेंडेंट, अनलाइक हियर इट इज़ state versus so and so। In civil justice system and criminal justice system can be divided into these two parts. Now further if I go, I can further divide the criminal justice system into two parts. What are those two parts? They are the substantive part and procedural part. As far as substantive part is concerned, what is substantive part? As we all know that we all have two kind of laws. They can be of either of the two natures, either they can be substantive or procedural in nature. If they happen to be of substantive nature, their tendency will be to tell us the rights and duties। सब्सटेंटिव लॉ जैसे कि फॉर एन एग्जांपल बीएनएस, या फिर कोई भी लोकल लॉ या कोई भी स्पेशल लॉ जैसे कि हो गया एनडीपीएस, एससी एसटी, ऐसे बहुत सारे एक्ट्स हैं लोकल स्पेशल लॉज। या इफ़ वी हैपन टू टेक द एग्जांपल ऑफ बीएनएस इटसेल्फ, ये हमें ये बताती हैं व्हाट शुड बी डू, व्हाट शुड बी नॉट डू, व्हाट शुड बी आर एक्ट्स, व्हाट शुड बी आर ओमिशन, एज द केस में बी। तो हमारी जो सब्सटेंटिव लॉ होते हैं वो हमको राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज़ के बारे में बताते हैं, और जो प्रोसीजरल लॉ होते हैं, अगर इन्हीं सब्सटेंटिव राइट के द्वारा बताए गए कोई भी राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज़ को इन्फ्लुएंस किया जाता है किसी भी पर्सन के द्वारा, तो अब विक्टिम पार्टी को कैसे जस्टिस मिलेगा, अगर सिविल का रहा तो वो कैसे उसको रिलीफ मिलेगा, ये बताता है प्रोसीजरल लॉ। अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग, फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल इन BNS I take the example of theft। if a theft is committed against a person, now how that victim party against whom theft has been committed, how that victim is going to be given justice, how justice is going to be done with victim। अब एक्यूज जो थेफ्ट कमिट किया उसको पनिश कैसे किया जाएगा, उसका ट्रायल कैसे चलेगा, सारे एविडेंस कैसे कलेक्ट किए जाएंगे, ये बताएगा हमारा प्रोसीजरल लॉ। लेकिन अगर हमारा कहीं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमने किसी से कर रखा है, एंड इफ द अदर पार्टी ब्रीचेस सम टर्म्स और कंडीशन ऑफ दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, तो उसमें जो मैं होऊंगा विक्टिम, उसमें मुझे कैसे रिलीफ मिलेगा वो भी एक प्रोसीजरल लॉ ही बताएगा। तो मतलब रिलीफ पाने का माध्यम, उसका मीडियम या जस्टिस देने का मीडियम कहाँ लिखा हुआ है, वो ऐसे लॉज में लिखे हुए हैं जो प्रोसीजरल नेचर के हैं। तो उस ये बोलते हैं प्रोसीजरल नेचर, विच टेल्स यू द प्रोसीजर। Now, this procedure got divided into two parts. If it happens to be civil justice system and if it happens to be criminal justice system, for civil justice system हमारे पास CPC है, जो कि सिविल राइट की इन्फ्रिंजमेंट के बाद कैसे रिलीफ कैसे रिलीफ दिया जाएगा, कैसे कंपेंसेट किया जाएगा, कैसे उसको रिस्टोर किया जाएगा, दैट इज गिवन इन CPC। CPC regulates that procedure as far as infringement of civil right is concerned। But when we come to criminal right, uh, and criminal wrong, if I'm allowed to use this phrase, criminal wrong, which is resulted into offense, अगर मेरे अगेंस्ट ऑफेंस होता है तो विक्टिम को, एक्यूज को पनिशमेंट कैसे मिलेगा, ट्रायल पूरा कैसे होगा, मतलब कि द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ ट्रायल, द कंप्लीट प्रोसेस ऑफ ट्रायल, पूरा प्रोसीजर कैसे होगा, एंड एट द लास्ट हाउ द एक्यूज इज गोइंग टू बी पनिश्ड, दैट इज टोल्ड इन BNSS, which we are starting from today onwards. So BNSS is going to tell that how the accused is going to be punished who has committed some offense, who has committed some offense. Now what is offense? We studied in the first lecture of BNS, though I am going to repeat. As offense is divided under section 3 of 38, section 3 clause 38 of General Clauses Act 1897. Also, it is defined under section 2 of Q 2, section 2 clause Q of BNSS 2023. The main two ingredients are common in these two definitions of offense. They, in all together, they say that any act, any act or omission which are prohibited and punishable, any act or omission which has been made prohibited and also which is made punishable, they are offense. So अगर ऑफेंस कमिट होता है तो इसकी प्रोसीजर, हाउ, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रोसीजर इज गोइंग टू बी, हाउ द ट्रायल इज गोइंग टू बी कंडक्टेड, these all things are laid down in the procedural law, which is BNSS, as far as the infringement of rights which results into offense is concerned. Now we are starting with the another question that as it is asked, we can also think of one thing that is criminal justice system, is criminal justice system a new concept, a modern concept, or how old is it basically, if we happen to discuss on this topic, that is criminal justice system a new thing, a new concept. So in order to get the answer of this question, we have to go as early as to the period of Hindu law. If we go to Hindu law, we can trace the availability or the prevalence of both kind of laws, substantive law and procedural law. If we pick up our Manusmriti, Manusmriti, which is by and large, it is a substantive law. Manusmriti was substantive law, which had laws related to 18 heads. There were 18 heads embedded in the Manusmriti, and laws with regards to those 18 heads were laid down. Uh, just for the reference, let me read out what were those 18 heads, so that we can have an idea that what level of substantive law we have in our Manusmriti. The first law it had with regards to non-payment of debts, law against deposits, law with regards to sale without ownership, law with regards to partnership, law with regards to resumption of gifts, non-payment of wages, breach of contract. Yes, here comes the civil right, breach of contract, cancellation of sale and purchase, dispute between owner and herdsman, boundary dispute, verbal assault. It also included the physical assault, theft. More importantly, there were also laws regarding the sexual offenses against women, means adultery के बारे में भी लॉ मनुस्मृति में दिया हुआ था, and law related to husband and wife was also written in the Manusmriti. So all these what I made you count, they were 18 heads. मनुस्मृति में 18 हेड्स थे, जो कि मनुस्मृति एक सब्सटेंटिव लॉ था. इट यूज टू टेल द राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज. We can understand in this way. Now this is the substantive law I talked about. Moreover, if we happen to talk about the Yagvalak Smriti, Yagyavalik Smriti was by and large the procedural law. Why am I saying by and large the procedural law? Because it was not the procedural law completely. There was some iota of substantive law given into the same Yagyavalik Smriti. Along with the Yagyavalik, there was a Narad Smriti, which was purely a procedural law. Yes, we can say Narad Smriti was purely a procedural law. Now, as I said, we can find that in Hindu law, Manu Smriti and Yagyavalakya Smriti, along with Narada Smriti, we can find the prevalence of or the presence of substantive law and procedural law. When we come to Muslim law, when we come to Muslim law, basically in Muslim law, the Muslims were ruled by Shariat. Muslims were ruled by Shariat, Holy Quran. Holy Quran also lays down the principle of natural justice. Uh, to be accurate, the Holy Quran has the basis of justice. तो जो होली कुरान थी अ, उसमें नेचुरल जस्टिस का कॉन्सेप्ट एम्बेडेड था। उसमें वो सारे आइडियाज़ थे, वो सारे आइडियल चीज़ें थे जो आज की मॉडर्न क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम में प्रेजेंट है। So these were the facts that, and this is, I think, more than enough to take out the conclusion that how old the criminal justice system, या फिर इससे मिलता जुलता एक और क्वेश्चन बनता है कि how correct would it be to say that it is Britishers who brought the criminal justice system? Now I think we are able to answer this question that it will be a misleading fact. It will be a misleading statement to say that it is Britishers who brought the criminal justice system in India. No, basically, criminal justice system prevalent in India from the Manusmriti, Yagyavalak Smriti, from the uh, means we can say since the Hindu law. But yes, as far as the Britishers are concerned, we can give the credit with regards to one thing that they consolidated the laws. Yes, in fact, if they did not made the law, if they did not origin law, but one credit can be given to them that they codified the law. That is why in most of the statutes, in most of the bare acts, if we happen to look the language of the preamble, we can find that in most of the bare acts it is written that this is an act to amend and codify. Amend and codify means the laws existed before the codification also. So this is the conclusion that no, it is not Britishers who made law or who brought the law, but the laws with regards to criminal justice system existed since the Hindu period, Hindu law. Now, since we are studying BNSS, which is a procedural law, it is a matter of discussion that is it purely procedural or there are some substantive iota in it. That's a matter of different discussion. Now I'm going to discuss that do we need or why do we need the procedural law? To answer this question, supposedly, if we question the same thing to ourselves that suppose A committed some offense against B, no, A committed some offense against B. Now, how justice would it be to hang the A immediately without giving him an opportunity of being heard? उसको ए को एक अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलनी चाहिए कि उसको भी एक मौका मिलना चाहिए कि वो अपनी बात रख सके। कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि बी ने उसको प्रोवोक किया था या 99.9% बी की गलती थी, वो जो 0.1% की वजह से ए ने बी का मर्डर किया, उस 0.1% की वजह से ए इज़ बीइंग हैंग्ड। ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। तो ए को ए शुड बी गिवन सम अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड एटलीस्ट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू बी हर्ड, विच इज़ अ पार्ट ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस। Natural justice has three components that no one can be judged in his own cause, in his own cause. Secondly, no unheard. There must no party must be left unheard. Means every party should be given an opportunity to speak, to put grounds of his or her wrongs. The third, that whatsoever the decision would be, it should be a reasoned decision. It should be it should be a reasoned order or reasoned decision. No. अब जैसे कि ए को हम हैंग नहीं कर सकते डायरेक्टली, ए शुड बी गिवन सम अपॉर्चुनिटी टू पुट हिज और हर ग्राउंड्स, हिज रीजंस ऑफ डूइंग रॉन्ग्स। इसीलिए ए को, क्योंकि नेचुरल जस्टिस कहता है कि हर एक पार्टी को सुना जाना जरूरी है, तो ए को हम मौका ज़रूर देंगे कि ए अपना ग्राउंड रख सके, ए अपना पक्ष रख सके कि उसने गलती क्यों किया, क्योंकि ये नेचुरल जस्टिस का डिमांड है। एंड नेचुरल जस्टिस इज द मोस्ट बेसिक थिंग ऑफ अ फेयर ट्रायल। मीन्स वी कैन नॉट इमेजिन द कंडक्ट ऑफ फेयर ट्रायल without natural justice. So it is a demand of natural justice that A should also be given some opportunity to be heard. But in fact, we also know that we read a line which is called presumption of innocence. In this presumption of innocence, which is in favor of accused, this line is used that accused is deemed to be innocent until proven guilty. Why do we use this line? Because when we study BNS, we have seen, we see that it is in our knowledge that even accused can be punished with death sentence, from 50 or 100 rupees fine till the highest degree of punishment, that is death penalty. He can be given with death penalty, can be punished with death penalty. So such a huge punishment he might be given in any case. So we cannot go against accused from the very inception of the case, from the very starting of the case. That is why criminal law says that accused के साथ presumption of innocence, because of the very fact कि accused को death penalty भी मिल सकती है, छोटी से छोटी सजा से लेकर के एक death penalty भी मिल सकती है. So we never know that accused को कौन सी punishment मिली. So presumption of innocence हमेशा accused के साथ रहता है. ये हम फील कर सकते हैं right from the very beginning, or right after the very moment FIR is lodged. When FIR is lodged, the victim lodges an FIR. FIR के बाद मतलब कि अभी हम लोग तो BNSS पढ़ रहे हैं, बट कभी ना कभी अगर आपने पढ़ा होगा तो ये जरूर पढ़ा होगा कि which is a very famous line, we say that bail is right and jail is an exception. Yes, so bail is right and jail is an exception. Basically ये इसी का presumption of innocence का corollary है. FIR के बाद accused must be arrested then only when it is mandatory to arrest and when the compelling situation makes you compelled to arrest the accused. Then only the accused should be arrested. So this is a corollary of presumption of innocence, that right after the lodging of FIR, presumption of innocence की जो कह सकते हैं कि जो इफेक्ट है वो दिखना स्टार्ट हो जाता है FIR लॉन्च होते हुए, और जब तक सेंटेंस या उसको कन्विक्ट नहीं किया जा उसको कन्विक्ट नहीं किया जा रहा है तब तक प्रिजम्पशन ऑफ इनोसेंस की. नो, व्हाई एम आई डिस्कसिंग दिस कॉन्सेप्ट प्रिजम्पशन ऑफ इनोसेंस with regards to accused? Basically, this was not the scenario between before 1934. 1934 तक क्या होता था कि if I'm moving to court, if I'm moving to complain against somebody, then it will be the responsibility of the person against whom I'm complaining. उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती थी कि वो प्रूव करे कि उसने गलती नहीं किया है. जबकि FIR में लॉस कर रहा हूँ, कंप्लेन में कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं कंप्लेन करके बस हट जाता था, और बाकी जो कह सकते हैं कि बर्डन ऑफ प्रूफ होता था वो एक्यूज का होता था कि अब वो प्रूव करे कि नहीं सर मैंने ये गलती नहीं किया है. तो ये सिनेरियो था 1934 तक. 1935 में अ पाथ ब्रेकिंग जजमेंट कम्स of Volmington versus public prosecutor, which is a case of 1935. It is an English law case, which is a path breaking judgment. It said that the person who is moving to court, The person who is moving to laws and FIR, the person who is moving to court in the seek of relief, in the seek of justice, that person will prove that the other person has done some wrong. If I happen to talk about in technical word, it said that it is the prosecution. Prosecution is the person, or prosecution basically, prosecutor is an advocate of the victim. It is going to be it is going to be the responsibility of that prosecutor, public prosecutor, who would be proving the accused wrong. It is not accused who is going to prove his innocence. It is the prosecution, it is the prosecutor who is going to prove the wrongs of accused. But yes, there are some exceptions we will see later on. So this was the great shift, this was the paradigm shift from from the responsibility of accused in proving himself innocent to the prosecutor's responsibility in proving the accused wrong. Now we are going to talk about BNSS per se, or CRPC per se. When I talk about CRPC or BNSS, how did this CRPC come into existence? How this before BNSS there was CRPC of 1973. So basically, I'm going to talk about from the angle of CRPC 1973, that how did it come into existence? What is the history behind its evolution? When Britishers came, when Britishers came to India, basically they when Britishers came to India, basically when they came, they divided the British India into two parts: presidencies, or presidency, and provinces. Presidencies were the regions which were directly in the control of Britishers' hands. वे लोग रूल करते थे प्रेसिडेंसीज को जो ब्रिटिशर्स थे, और प्रेसिडेंसीज डायरेक्टली वाज अंडर द रूल ऑफ ब्रिटिशर्स, वेयर एज द रीजन्स ऑफ प्रोविंसेस, it was, though it was not directly under the control of Britishers, but indirectly it was being controlled by the Britishers only. प्रोविंसेस पे डायरेक्टली कंट्रोल करने वाला लोकल रूलर्स हुआ करते थे, जैसे कि राजाज, यही सब हुआ करते थे लोकल रूलर्स जो प्रोविंसेस को डायरेक्टली कंट्रोल करते थे, जो कि अल्टीमेटली इनडायरेक्ट कंट्रोल ब्रिटिशर्स का हुआ करता था, बट अनलाइक टू प्रेसिडेंसी जहाँ पे डायरेक्टली कंट्रोल ब्रिटिशर्स का था. तो व्हाट दे डिड basically, as far as their own regions presidencies was concerned, they brought a law which was now uh, basically there were two regions, presidencies and provinces. So what Britishers did, they brought two different laws for presidencies and provinces. There was a single law for presidencies, there was another law for provinces, meaning to say that they were going two parallel laws. दो पैरेलल लॉज चल रहे थे ब्रिटिश इंडिया में. जो प्रेसिडेंसीज के लिए ब्रिटिशर्स ने लॉ लाया था उसका नाम था क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर सुप्रीम कोर्ट एक्ट 1852. And similarly, a different law was brought for provinces, which was ruling provinces, which was ruled by local rulers. The name of this act was criminal. This was Criminal Procedure Act of 1861. This was of 1861 and this was of 1852. Now, with the passage of time, basically जो प्रेसिडेंसीज की क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर सुप्रीम कोर्ट एक्ट 1852 था, that was replaced in 1865 with the High Court Criminal Procedure Act 1865. Later on, with the passage of time, the act which was ruling the provinces, this act was also replaced by Criminal Procedure Act 1872. Now, after now, जैसे कि we have seen that these two original laws of presidencies and provinces were replaced by their respective laws. तो अब क्या आ गया, अब हाई कोर्ट क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर एक्ट 1865 जो कि अब प्रेसिडेंसीज को रूल कर रहे थे. At the same point of time, there was Criminal Procedure Act of 1872, which was ruling the provinces. Now, again, दो दो लॉज, दो पैरेलल लॉज चल रहे हैं ब्रिटिश इंडिया में, एक प्रेसिडेंसी को गवर्न कर रहा है, एक प्रोविंसेस को गवर्न कर रहा है। बट नाउ एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम ब्रिटिशर्स endeavored टू मेक अ यूनिफॉर्म क्रिमिनल लॉ। तो इन्होंने क्या किया कि इन दोनों को कंबाइन कर दिया गया। बाय कंबाइनिंग देम a uniform law was brought. The name was CRPC 1882. CRPC 1882. But again, this particular CRPC of 1882 had a lot of had very much negative aspect, had lots of lacuna and paucities in it. Now finally होता क्या है कि इसके बाद 1898 में again CRPC, after combining High Court's Criminal Procedure Act 1865, which was for presidencies, and Criminal Procedure Act 1872, which was for provinces, after combining both of them, a combined law was brought, CRPC 1882. But again, it also had many lacunas, it also had many negative aspects, it was incomplete. Again, another act comes in 1898, which was CRPC 1898. In this 1898, this particular act of 1898 existed after the post independence also, means it lasted post independence. This 1898 lasted until 1973. In 1973, the need was felt that some of the provisions of 1898 was not in the consonance of Indian constitution, since it had become, since this was a time of post independence, so each and every provisions had to be in the consonance of Indian constitution. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के किसी भी प्रोविजन के खिलाफ कोई भी एस्पेक्ट नहीं होना चाहिए 1898 के कोड में, इसीलिए 1973 में सीआरपीसी रिवैम्प होती है, अमेंड किया जाता है। दिस 1973 existed and it lasted for at least 50 years, for around 50 years. Now एक पेट क्वेश्चन इंटरव्यू का बनता ये है कि what was the reason behind 1973 CRPC, why it replaced 1898 code, why did 1973 CRPC come? Basically there were few provisions which was, see, 1898 जो सीआरपीसी था वो प्री इंडिपेंडेंस का था, जो कि वो पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस तक चला। अब जब वो प्री इंडिपेंडेंस का था तो हो सकता है उसमें कुछ ऐसे प्रोविजंस रहे होंगे जो 1950 में, जो 1949 में जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आया उस प्रोविजन के खिलाफ कुछ प्रोविजंस रहे होंगे 1898 के कोड में। तो ये नीड फील करी गई फिर एट द लास्ट 1973 में इट वॉज फाइनली डिसाइडेड टू अमेंड द एक्ट एंड टू adopt the another CRPC amended act of 1973. तो वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट ओनली दोज एस्पेक्ट्स कि क्या कमी थी 1898 की कोड में विथ रिगार्ड्स टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया। बेसिकली 1898 जो कोड था इट वॉज नॉट सोशलिस्ट इन नेचर, इट वॉज नॉट सोशलिस्ट इन नेचर। Yes. For an example, there was no concept of victimology. There was no iota of maintenance as far as women are concerned. There was no maintenance provision was there. No victimology concept was there. There was no concept of legal aid which exists today. So ये सारी चीज़ें नहीं थी, तो आई थिंक इसी को लेकर के इसको नॉन सोशलिस्ट नॉट, या फिर this was said to be a non-socialist in nature. Secondly, this was non-socialist in nature. Next, as it is said that it had overlooked the natural justice का concept. It had overlooked the natural justice का concept. Meaning to say that अच्छा आप ये सोच के देखिए कि 1898 का कोड है तो उसमें नेचुरल जस्टिस क्यों रहेगी? ब्रिटिशर्स का जो माइंडसेट था वो था वी हैव टू लूट इंडिया, इंडिया को लूटने का माइंडसेट ब्रिटिशर्स के अंदर था। तो वो जो कोड होगा, कोई भी लॉ बनाएंगे, कोई भी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन बनाएंगे, why would they be interested in including the aspect of natural justice? So obviously the 1898 code lagged of natural justice का concept. There was no concept of that let the accused be given opportunity to be heard. There was no such concept, which was later on included in the 1973 code after amendment. Thirdly, I think this is the last but not the least thing, that in 1898 codes there was no separation. There was no separation between whom? Separation between executive and judiciary. It was not in consonance with Article 50 of Constitution of India. Article 50 of Constitution of India says the very thing, that there has to be a watertight compartment between executive and judiciary. There has to be a watertight compartment between executive and judiciary, meaning to say that जो एग्जीक्यूटिव वाला बंदा होगा वो जुडिशरी का रोल नहीं निभाएगा, और जो जुडिशरी वाला बंदा होगा वो एग्जीक्यूटिव में काम नहीं करेगा। प्ले रोल इन बोथ द फील्ड्स साइमल्टेनियसली। एग्जीक्यूटिव का काम ऑफेंस को रोकना है, और इफ़ ड्यू टू सम रीजन ऑफेंस हो जाता है, देन वहाँ से जुडिशरी का काम स्टार्ट होता है। जुडिशरी कम्स इनटू पिक्चर द मोमेंट ऑफेंस टेक्स प्लेस। अनटिल ऑफेंस टेक्स प्लेस एग्जीक्यूटिव रहता है। जब तक ऑफेंस नहीं हो जाता, और ऑफेंस को बचाना है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन रखना है, क्योंकि ऑफेंस ना हो सके, कोई रॉन्ग्स ना हो सके, ये एग्जीक्यूटिव का पार्ट है। लेकिन अगर एक बार ऑफेंस हो गया, द वेरी मोमेंट जुडिशरी कम्स इनटू पिक्चर, तो इन दोनों के बीच में एक वाटर टाइट कंपार्टमेंट का होना बहुत ज़रूरी था, एज पर आर्टिकल 50 ऑफ आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया। तो 1898 का कोड इसके कॉन्सोनेंस में नहीं था, इसके हार्मनी में नहीं था। इट वॉज conflicting with this provision. So especially these were the special reasons, these were the main reasons, sole reasons why 1973 act came by amending 1898 का code. No, I think we have understood the reasons behind the coming of 1973 CRPC. When 1973 CRPC came into existence, इन सारी की जो ये सारे मीन्स ये सारी जो इनहेरेंट प्रॉब्लम्स थे 1898 के कोड में, इन सारे प्रॉब्लम्स को दूर करते हुए 1973 की सीआरपीसी को लाया गया। बेसिकली दिस keeping in the view of these three problems, these three inherent problem, 41st लॉ कमीशन जो था, उसको ये टास्क दिया गया कि आप इस पर you have to lament upon it, you have to think upon it, and you have to give an opinion that what should be done in order to, with regards to these inherited problems. तो 41st लॉ कमीशन का रिपोर्ट जो था, along with 154th law commission, these two law commissions were given the task to suggest on the inherent right of 1898 code. So they both altogether suggested that पैच वर्क नहीं चलेगा। 1973 का जो CRPC होगा, that should be rewritten, means 1898 code should be rewritten. No, 41st law commission and 154th law commission, they both submitted their reports suggesting that 1973 CRPC should be brought, and there is not going to be the possibility of पैच वर्क। कोई पैच वर्क की पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं होगी, क्योंकि पैच वर्क से काम नहीं चलेगा। वी हैव टू रिवैम्प द लॉ। सो बेसिकली when 1973 CRPC came, it had a success over all these inherent problems. The 1973 brought this socialism aspect in it. It provided legal aid. It also brought the concept of victimology. It also brought the concept of victimology. It also talked about the law of maintenance. So these were the provisions which were reflecting the aspect of socialism. There were many other problems which solved, which was not solved, which was basically moreover 1973 CRPC made 1898 code in a more organized way, which was unorganized. It was time consuming, time taking process. So 1973 act made 1898 का code in a more organized way, in less which was time consuming, now made more easy and more organized, which was not there in 1898 code. Now, this was the story till 1973 CRPC. Now, what happened after this, that we got to see BNSS 2023. It means that this 1973 CRPC existed for almost 50 years. Now, what was the need of having BNSS 2023? This we are going to discuss and start from the next lecture of BNSS. Until then, I hope, and again I'm repeating that you all can make your register and keep noting the things what is being taught by me. We will meet in the next lecture of BSA, which is going to be the first lecture of BSA. Thank you.